Hello, I am the interdimensional being known on this planet as Elizabeth of Lore. And today I have a transmission for you because for the past 2 years I have been working on an epic fantasy series. And today I finished the first major round of edits on it. So I've decided that I'm going to share a little bit from my book with you. And it may all disappear in the next round of edits, what I share with you today. But we will see. That's to be decided. I don't know. So here we go. It's called A Human In Saensol by Elizabeth of Lore. There are many journeys within one story, but it is the journey with which the story begins that determines its end. Solshin's Sovereignty Proverb, Unnamed Acolyte. The attribution, of course, is a lie. Those who lived through the Solshin sovereignty know this, though there are fewer and fewer of them left now. With enough time, the lie will be cleansed from the words, so all that remains is the truth that shines beneath. And isn't that what really matters, some will say. Senra Satasha was never one for accolades anyway, also a lie, the never of it at least, but those who say it don't know that. But Senra Satasha is not the storyteller today, nor are those who would scrub her from the record of history. I am. And it is my humble, if admittedly biased, opinion that dear Tasha should receive credit where credit is due. So, I will correct the record and make it known now and for as long as my words shall prosper that it was Senra Satasha, Vyasan's sovereign primary of the Solshin, who uttered the proverb. Of course, it is true that Tasha, Vyasan's sovereign primary of the Solshin and the first and still only Vyasan to step down, would work very hard for many journeys to make herself unknown. It is also true that Tasha was a mere acolyte when she first said the words, though they would not be canonized until she was Vyasan. And it is also true that when, after long last, the story of Tasha arrived at its final ending, she would be memorialized not as Senra Satasha, nor even Yent Senwei as would have followed custom, but as Rei Kara, meaning either many named or, depending on the translation, nameless. As I told you, the lie contains many truths. Perhaps I should take a moment for translation. I don't want to, not really. It is a tedious task, the task of translating the language of Saensol into ours. Worse, it's imprecise. Saensol is a sung language, like that of the unicorns, like that of the elven kind once upon a time, before the Iron walked through death and took the fire from the belly of reality for their own, and all that followed. It's a cliché, I know, but it's true. So much of Saensol gets lost in translation, especially in such a brute and unmusical tongue as English. I am a storyteller, not a translator. That will make my attempt all the worse. I'm warning you. Don't judge Saensol by my feeble tries to translate it to you. Still, I think even my rough slog translation might help you to navigate the journeys ahead. I will start with Saensol, which means the great story. Or maybe a touch of creative liberty is needed here, a little slanting of the language, a bit of embellishment. If I call it the living story, will you have a clearer idea of the world, the people, the language called Saensol? Next, Saenrasa Tasha, meaning the player of the great story first told in the mainland and who is a protective sibling. No, that's not right. Translation is an art, one I have not mastered. In our terms, the name might be better translated to she who first came into being on the mainland and protected her sister. Small changes, but meaningful. Yet Senway, Tasha's secret purpose, her secret name, unutterable until its fulfillment. Betrayer of her most beloved. Now you understand why Tasha ran? You would too, if your destiny were to betray the one you love most. The journeys in these pages don't much belong to Tasha. But Tasha said long ago, when she was yet so young and so devout and so wise and unwise at once, telling the beginning of a story is a way of telling its end. Remember Tasha, the protector, the betrayer, the forgotten, the many-named, the nameless, as you take these journeys. Keep her close. Now what next? The advantage of retrospect is that I can see how all the journeys and stories stitched together, all the way back to before the fire and rain of the Irevern, spanning worlds and eons to Jasmine Dillon, who could never have predicted how large her future would grow as she tremored her flame under a spoon of powdered fentanyl, praying for pleasure or death. Ah, I know. In honor of Tasha, can you tell I have a soft spot for Tasha? We will begin with a betrayal. Later, when Faye was certain she would die before ever seeing home again, she would think back on that last walk from school and wish she had paid better attention. There was nothing about it she particularly loved, but she would find herself yearning to recall in minute detail the feel of the midday swelter as it sighed over her goose-pimpled skin once she pushed past the heavy double doors of the overly air-conditioned school building. The hot, momentary panic of all those bodies rushing past at once, jostling and jumping and clowning to get out, get past, get away from high school and onward to the call of the weekend. The flashes of color and costume, the whiffs of scents, ripe teenage musk and grape lip gloss and onion breath and bubble gum and sour hormonal armpits and body wash and $1 perfume and vape chemicals and random individual whatever. The thud and slap and clack of flats and sneakers and heels running past. Drifts of gossip and laughter and cussing. The warm metal of the campus's long chain-link fence twanging under her fingers as she hitched them along its length. The tarry, suffocating stench of the long gray roadway unbroken by crosswalks or stoplights until sweat drizzled down Faye's arms and back and thighs. The bright green veranda of the dollar store across the way. The crooked wooden sign for the pizza parlor that only opened after dusk. The dingy inset tattoo shop that, rumor had it, let minors get their tits pierced. The sprawling cinder-block laundromat with its stout, slumped guard and perpetual nod. The head shop and its moldy wooden chieftain draped in his faded Confederate flag. The rusty old hit-or-miss pop machine squatting on a patch of overgrown grass next to the sidewalk like an alien artifact. The open-air car wash that was always sudded but never staffed. The bodega that sold yeasty Cuban pancitos 2 for $1 in the hour after school let out. It's funny, isn't it? What one will reach for when facing certain death. But on the day in question, Faye had no inclination that she would never again take that long, hot walk to her Abuela Hortensia's squat Sunrise, Florida mobile home. She had no idea that in a few short days she would yearn more than anything to have paused and reveled in the warm bloom of the yellow sun, so that she could remember the feel of it clearly one last time, or how much it would tear at her that she could not recall the name of that damn bodega. In fact, on the day in question, Faye was wholly preoccupied with a different matter of survival. That's all I'm going to share for today. If you like it and you're interested, let me know. Maybe I'll share a little more, or you can wait until it's published. A Human in Saensol by Elizabeth of Lore. Thank you for listening.